The novel recounts the journey of an innocent youth who, in the pursuit of truth, navigates the intricate web of good and evil, right and wrong, love and hatred. Throughout the narrative, the protagonist gradually unveils the mystery of his own lineage while experiencing the bittersweet pangs of growth amidst various trials and enigmas. Chapter 1. The Spirit Power Test. Ha 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 ha. His spirit power is 0. Absolutely hilarious. The son of the former clan leader truly is astonishing, utterly remarkable. The crowd erupted in unabashed mockery, their scornful words encircling a young boy standing at the center. Before him, the spirit power tower gleamed, not a glimmer of light, symbolizing the complete absence of spirit energy within him. In this world, where martial prowess reigns supreme, even the most ordinary individuals possess some degree of spirit energy. It merely varies according to one's innate talent, with the tower comprising 9 tiers. Above the 9th tier lies the pinnacle, and those capable of illuminating the top of the tower with their own spirit energy are deemed qualified to enter the realm of weapon spirits, transforming their inner energy into a personal weapon that matures alongside the warrior. Beyond the realm of weapon spirits are the realms of Spirit Sea, Spirit Sect, and Void. It is said that those who attain the Void realm are the strongest forces within any prominent family, capable of altering the fate of their lineage. Those who illuminate the tower's summit before the age of 20 are celebrated as prodigies, often chosen by the Southern Sect Academy, a prestigious institution reputed for nurturing geniuses. Graduates from this academy invariably emerge as formidable figures, some even ascending to the apex of power. This seemingly ordinary boy, dressed in attire less elegant than that of Collateral Branch's steward, is none other than Lin Xiao, the legitimate heir of the Lin family. Since his earliest memories, Lin Xiao has been orphaned, shunned by the current clan leader. The elders, when mentioning Lin Xiao's parents, hesitate, their eyes betraying a flicker of resentment and a trace of fear. Lin Xiao remains oblivious to the transgressions of his parents, yet he has known nothing but neglect throughout his childhood. Fortuitously, an elderly steward has silently cared for him. Without this kindness, he might not have survived to this day. Yet, the youth has often contemplated whether it would have been so terrible had he not made it this far. Amidst the crowd, Lin Yu basks in the attention. When another youth clad in resplendent garments steps forth, "Sister Yu, you truly are formidable, almost surpassing me." Haha. Lin Zun chuckles heartily, foregoing further pleasantries as he places his hand upon the tower. Instantly, the tower begins to illuminate, layer by layer, first 1, then 2, 3. The crowd erupts in a frenzy. 9 layers. My heavens, 9 layers. It's truly 9 layers. The Lin family has hope. You've stolen all the limelight. How annoying. Lin Yu feigns indignation towards Lin Zun. Lin Zun shrugs, grinning broadly, and strides over to Lin Yu. "Silly girl, I must be stronger to protect you." Who needs your protection? The affectionate banter between the two ignites envy among the youth of the Lin family. Yet they remain powerless, for Lin Zun's strength and status as the current clan leader's son grant him the right to win the affections of the fairest. Lin Xiao sits upon a stone, weary, his mind consumed by the intimate exchange between Lin Yu and Lin Zun. How he envies them, truly envies them, yearning to converse with Lin Yu as Lin Zun does, yet he feels utterly unworthy. It's all that damn spirit power tower's fault. If only I could illuminate a few layers, even just 5. Why can't I cultivate spirit energy? Why? I can sense the spirit energy. I know I can absorb it. Yet why is there none within me? Why? The maddening thoughts push Lin Xiao to the brink of despair. In a frenzy, he mutters various cultivation mantras, his movements wild and erratic as he seeks a method to cultivate. He continues this relentless pursuit, neglecting rest and sustenance, repeating these actions in a frenzied loop. To an outsider, it would appear as though a fool, devastated and lost, rather than a practitioner of cultivation. Lin Xiao's thoughts spiral into chaos, these questions echoing endlessly in his mind. For years, he has not relinquished his pursuit of cultivation. Yet curiously, though his methods and techniques are sound, and he can perceive the external spirit energy and feel its absorption, he simply cannot retain it within. It seems as though the energy vanishes into thin air upon entering his body. After a considerable time, Lin Xiao suddenly finds a semblance of calm. He cannot fathom why, as if he has lost control over both his body and thoughts, leaving only his senses. To his astonishment, he realizes he has resumed his cultivation. There's an inexplicable sense that this session feels different from any before, although he cannot articulate how. Gradually, he enters a meditative state, discovering that the spirit energy around him rushes toward him, gradually being absorbed. This collected energy gathers at a location 1.5 inches below his navel, which he recognizes as the position of the Qi Si. Unfortunately, Lin Xiao is currently unable to access the Qi Si, but he persists in guiding the energy toward it, allowing the spirit energy to circulate between the Qi Si, the Ming Men, and the Guan Yuan, creating a continuous cycle. The Guan Yuan and Qi Si belong to the Ren Meridian, while the Ming Men belongs to the Du Meridian. Their interaction constitutes cultivation. Slowly, Lin Xiao feels a burgeoning realization that he might truly be able to cultivate. This sensation intensifies until, at an unknown moment, he regains control over his thoughts and body, experiencing the essence of cultivation. He appears almost entranced, voraciously absorbing the spirit energy around him. Were there anyone nearby, they would surely be left agape, for Lin Xiao has become the epicenter of a vortex, ravenously drawing in the surrounding spirit energy, even conjuring faint winds. The speed of this absorption is nothing short of terrifying. An overwhelming influx of spirit energy courses through him, from the Shankei to the Guanyuan, from the Tsiugu to the Sherman, eventually converging in the Qi Si. As the cycle accelerates, Lin Xiao begins to perceive the faintest glimmer of light within the Qi Si. What is this light? How can I see it? Suddenly, Lin Xiao realizes that he has developed a form of consciousness, enabling him to glimpse his own Qi Si. How peculiar! Ancient texts state that only those in the realm of weapon spirits can cultivate this consciousness. When the weapon spirit manifests, the consciousness emerges, allowing communication with the weapon spirit. Despite his confusion, Lin Xiao's consciousness is captivated by the vision within the Qi Si. As he acclimates to the light, the clarity of the Qi Si sharpens, revealing a chaotic scene one reminiscent of a desolate land ravaged by flames. Yet, amidst this devastation, a gentle aura permeates the Qi Si. Following this aura, Lin Xiao gasps in astonishment, for above his Qi Si, there lies an egg, an almost transparent egg.
Chapter 2, The Mystery of My Origins, Part 1. It turns out that my inability to store spiritual energy is due to this egg. Lin Xiao finally identified the root cause of his troubles. Harboring a deep-seated resentment towards the egg, wishing fervently to rend it to pieces, "Master, can you see me?" Suddenly, a voice emanated from the egg, tinged with a hint of astonishment. "I thought you were deliberately nurturing me with your spiritual energy." Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao rolled his eyes in exasperation. If consciousness could bite, this egg would undoubtedly be reduced to mere fragments. The more he pondered, the angrier he became. It took him quite a while to muster the words. "Damn you!" However, anger proved futile. Now that he understood the reason behind his inability to cultivate, Lin Xiao was solely focused on resolving this issue. Aspiring to train like an ordinary person, he firmly believed that through his own efforts, he could earn the admiration of others and no longer be subjected to ridicule. And "Master, I can sense your thoughts. I never intended for you to endure such prolonged mockery and disdain. Rest assured, my prior inability to communicate with you stemmed from my incomplete restoration. I absorbed your spiritual energy to recover, and now I can barely establish a connection with you. In the future, I will compensate you. I will ensure that your cultivation becomes remarkably efficient, perhaps even tenfold or 100-fold. Could it be that this egg was merely seeking to absorb more energy? What exactly is this egg? Why does it refer to me as master? Is it merely trying to curry favor?" Doubt surged within Lin Xiao, leaving him uncertain of whether to believe it. "Master, I do not seek to please you. In truth, I am the spiritual pearl of your esteemed father. Long ago, after a fierce battle, your father integrated me into your spiritual sea, both to preserve me and to protect you. You know my father? Where is he? Is he a good person or a villain?" Upon hearing that the spiritual pearl possessed knowledge about his father, Lin Xiao urgently inquired. The clan leader and elders had always been reticent regarding his father's matters, and even his most trusted steward consistently evaded the topic. After a brief silence, the voice of the spiritual pearl emerged once more. "I cannot recall the details, except that the battle consumed nearly all of my power, and my current memories are sealed by numerous barriers. Only by growing stronger can you break these seals. However, within these seals, I have sensed your father's aura. Perhaps it was he who sealed me. Master, I am forcefully communicating with you this time, but soon I shall fall into a deep slumber. I hope you can awaken me again soon. As the voice faded, Lin Xiao instantly opened his eyes. Gazing around in bewilderment, everything felt dreamlike. His body was drenched in sweat. After taking several deep breaths, he gradually regained his ability to think. Lin Xiao was left uncertain whether the earlier encounter was real or merely an illusion. Inexplicably, it felt so vividly authentic. After a considerable time, Lin Xiao suddenly slapped his forehead, realizing how foolish he had been. Hadn't the spiritual pearl just claimed it would no longer absorb his spiritual energy? Why not try cultivating a bit to see if it worked? Upon this realization, Lin Xiao ceased his idle chatter and promptly settled into a meditative posture, embarking on his cultivation journey. The familiar sensation enveloped him as he attuned himself to the surrounding spiritual energy and drew it into his being. However, unlike before, he distinctly felt the vitality within his dantian. Sensing that the spiritual energy had not dissipated, a wave of elation surged through Lin Xiao, illuminating his life with newfound hope. In the cavern, the solitary youth remained undisturbed by the tempest raging outside. Immersed in his introspection, time slipped away, and eventually Lin Xiao exhaled a deep breath, releasing a cloud of stagnant energy. He stretched his limbs, producing a series of satisfying cracks that echoed around him. Upon gauging his own breath, he was astonished to discover that his cultivation had propelled his spiritual power to the 4th level. Lin Xiao smacked his lips in excitement, reveling in the fact that he was finally able to cultivate. Although Lin Xiao was unaware of how long he had lingered in the cave, his instincts suggested it was certainly more than a day. Concern for his family's worry prompted him to hasten back to his clan. He flew through the air, maintaining a steady breath, which only deepened his astonishment at the benefits of his newfound abilities. However, his stomach betrayed him, growling insistently, leading Lin Xiao to indulge in a hearty meal at a bun shop before continuing his journey home. Before long, he arrived at the entrance of his clan. The guards, far from looking down on him, greeted him with a respectful bow. One of them inquired, "Young master, where have you been these past 3 days? The old steward has been beside himself searching for you." Feeling somewhat dejected, Lin Xiao confessed, "I went to the back mountain to find some peace." Though the cave was his secret, he opted not to deceive the old steward and spoke candidly. "You went to the cave? How could you be gone for 3 days?" The steward's tone bore a hint of curiosity. At that moment, Lin Xiao sensed something amiss. He had only mentioned the back mountain and had not disclosed the cave's existence. As he pondered this, the old steward pressed further, "During your 3-day absence, did you encounter anything unusual?" Lin Xiao detected an undercurrent of anticipation in the steward's inquiry. Without further contemplation, he was eager to share his ability to cultivate. He extended his hand, channeling his spiritual energy into his palm, which emitted a soft glow. "You have awakened." To his surprise, the old steward was seated by his bedside. Lin Xiao, having just regained consciousness, had not noticed him before. Sighing with evident relief, the steward began to speak. "You are quite foolish, insisting on challenging your kin in the family arena when you clearly cannot cultivate. Was it not simply an invitation for ridicule? A man must possess the ability to endure. Suffering trivial indignities without purpose is of no significance." After absorbing the steward's admonition, Lin Xiao was left bewildered. Had he truly been knocked unconscious? He distinctly recalled conversing with the steward in the courtyard before suddenly losing consciousness. Furrowing his brow in confusion, he struggled to comprehend the situation. Seeing Lin Xiao's silence, the old steward assumed he recognized his mistake. Understanding that young men value their pride, he chose to allow Lin Xiao some solitude. Slowly exiting the room and leaving him to ponder his thoughts, just as he stepped out, a clan member rushed over, exclaiming, "Young master, hurry and test your spiritual power. Everyone has gathered," though they addressed him as young master. The clan member displayed a distinct lack of respect towards Lin Xiao. Instead adopting a tone of command, Lin Xiao furrowed his brow, testing spiritual energy. A familiar sensation washed over him, as if he had experienced it before. After gathering his thoughts, he made his way towards the square. Chapter 3, The Mystery of Lineage, Part 2. In the expansive square, clan members had begun to test their abilities in front of the spiritual energy tower one after another. Lin Li, aged 15, achieved the 4th level. Lin Ran, aged 16, reached the 3rd level. The elder responsible for the assessments called out the number of levels lit up for each clan member. A multitude of outsiders gathered in the square. Children of ordinary families from the city. Since common folk could never possess treasures like the spiritual energy tower, they sought to test their abilities among the prominent families of the city. This not only allowed them to measure their potential, but should they prove to be promising candidates, they might be selected by these esteemed families, granted resources for cultivation, and elevate their families' lives. At the very least, they might secure a position as a servant or enforcer within one of the great clans, ensuring their subsistence. Liu Xing, aged 14, attained the 6th level. The crowd fell into a sudden hush, followed by gasps of astonishment. Achieving the 6th level at such a young age was remarkable. This outsider would undoubtedly gain recognition. How striking he was, such an attractive young man. Some of the clan's young women began to swoon. The air was thick with exclamations of admiration and envy. Even the elders present revealed glimmers of interest, eager to take him under their wing. "Silence, silence," the clan's grand elder interjected, his voice cutting through the noise. After all, this was the Lin family's arena, and the Grand Elder was keen on maintaining decorum. He glanced at the other elders, each lost in their calculations, then surveyed the adoring faces of the clan members. Shaking his head in resignation, "You may step down now. After the examinations conclude, join those aged 16 and under with spiritual energy levels above 4 in the main hall for selection." Liu Xing clasped his fists in respect and descended from the stage. Whether by coincidence or design, he approached Lin Xiao's side and offered a slight nod. Taken aback, Lin Xiao felt a flutter of excitement at this unexpected gesture of camaraderie. After all, he was merely a 15-year-old boy, often overlooked and ridiculed, and he found himself somewhat at a loss in the face of such kindness. He returned the nod, contemplating saying something, yet his shyness held him back. Both boys feigned indifference as they observed the ongoing tests. Next to take the stage was Lin Yu, the Lin family's dazzling jewel. With a slight smile gracing her lips, she ascended the platform like a proud peacock, drawing the gaze of the crowd, some filled with admiration, others with envy, but most with affection. Lin Yu seemed to revel in the attention, slowly placing her hand upon the spiritual energy tower. At that moment, it radiated with brilliance, illuminating layer after layer, 8 levels in total. Just as the tower flickered to life at the 6th level, 2 voices emerged from the crowd, whispering so quietly that only they could hear. Upon uttering their words, they recognized each other, yet before they could speak, a swell of cheers arose from the crowd. "Miss Lin Yu is truly remarkable. Having ascended to the 8th level, Lin Xun possesses an equal measure of spiritual power, asserting his status as the foremost individual. In contrast, young Miss Lin Yu, at merely 15, has also attained the 8th level, surpassing Lin Xun considerably, who is already 17. The crowd lavished praises without reserve, yet these accolades failed to reach the ears of Lin Xiao and Lu Xing, who exchanged glances, each seeking to extract some insight from the other's eyes. "Did Lin Yu disclose her strength to you prior to the test?" Lu Xing was the first to speak, assuming that both Lin Xiao and Lin Yu, being from the Lin family, might have conversed beforehand. "How could that be? No one in the clan is willing to engage in conversation with me," Lin Xiao replied with a self-deprecating smile. "Then how do you ascertain that Lin Yu is at the 8th level?" Lu Xing pressed, her determination unwavering. "And how do you know?" Lin Xiao retorted, his gaze fixed intently on Lu Xing, unwilling to yield. At that moment, a tempest of thoughts surged within Lin Xiao. He sensed that a significant secret lay beneath the surface. Why was he unable to cultivate? Had the previous experiences truly been mere dreams? What was the origin of that egg? These questions incessantly replayed in his mind. Observing the subsequent tests, Lin Xun's appearance mirrored the previous so-called dream, with even the intimate exchange between Lin Yu and Lin Xun remaining unchanged. While such dialogue would ordinarily seem unremarkable, Lin Xiao's mind was consumed with recent revelations. Suddenly, he heard the old steward's familiar voice, which struck him with a sense of foreboding, as if the steward intended to send him away. Could it be that the steward wished for him to venture to the cave in the back mountain? Lin Xiao pondered quietly, recognizing that his experiences today paralleled those of the past, the only difference being that he had not participated in the testing in the presence of the unfamiliar Lu Xing. Logically, he should have been overcome with rage and rushed to the back mountain. With this in mind, Lin Xiao resolved to conduct his own test. Following the old steward's suggestion, he spoke with a hint of a tremor in his voice. "Why can't I be like them? I wish to cultivate as well. I long to become strong." Lin Xiao's performance was commendable, for he had endured sufficient grievances. Recalling a few sorrowful memories was enough to bring forth the quiver in his voice and redden his eyes. "You still cannot cultivate?" the old steward inquired, seemingly clarifying his earlier comment. Lin Xiao feigned ignorance of the stewardess' slip, replying with a hint of reluctance, "I suppose not over the past few days. I have practiced a bit and felt some changes. I intended to test myself this time, but alas, I was not permitted." Lin Xiao intentionally mentioned his potential ability to cultivate, hoping to gauge whether the old steward would inquire further. To his surprise, the steward did not press him for details. Instead, he grasped Lin Xiao's hand with one and gently patted his wrist with the other, offering consolation. "It matters not even if you cannot cultivate. You can still live well, just like an old man such as myself." Though Lin Xiao felt a pang of disappointment, he refrained from elaborating further, simply acknowledging with a soft hum before bidding farewell to the steward. Expressing a desire for solitude, the steward readily acquiesced, even bestowing upon Lin Xiao a handful of silver coins. Without further inquiry, Lin Xiao accepted the money with a smile, leaving the courtyard with a sense of joy. Preparing to reflect on his thoughts at a leisurely pace. As Lin Xiao departed, the old steward let out a sinister smile and addressed the surrounding air, saying, "You are excessively cautious. After all, he is merely an inexperienced young lad. A handful of silver coins brings him such joy, hardly a sign of greatness." As his words faded, the air beside him began to warp slowly, revealing a shadowy figure. Upon its emergence, it exuded an ethereal beauty, draped in garments as white as snow. With an elegance reminiscent of orchids, her skin was as pure as freshly fallen snow, her eyes translucent like crystal, cascading black hair like a waterfall, and wrists as delicate as frost. Her tall stature radiated a beauty that could tempt one to willingly descend into the abyss. The left guardian's dismissive attitude seemed to underestimate him. I sensed that this young fellow had already begun to perceive more than he let on. The woman in white smiled softly. Surely not. You may be overthinking it. I cannot believe this little one could stir any significant waves. However, I do sense a hint of spiritual energy within him. Perhaps our choice was indeed astute. If he truly is the one, we could become figures of great influence within the demonic realm. She chuckled, her mirth growing with each word. The left guardian, increasingly amused, laughed aloud. The woman in white regarded him and cautioned, do not let your guard down too readily. Has there been no issue with the Ancient One? Not only did he lose the offering, but he was also wounded by a master. Moreover, the offering he selected appears to possess a greater likelihood of authenticity. It is said that it can illuminate the 6th level of the spiritual power tower. Upon hearing her words, the left guardian pondered, indeed, there is something peculiar. When Lin Xiao spoke with me earlier, a master attempted to incapacitate him, yet I thwarted the attack. Why then did Lin Xiao faint? This baffles me. I have checked, and it is evident that his consciousness was indeed assaulted, not a mere act of feigning unconsciousness. Intriguing, the woman in white remarked before gradually vanishing. These two self-proclaimed denizens of the demonic realm stood openly in the courtyard, engrossed in their conversation, while the Lin family members passing by merely cast them a glance, continuing with their own affairs. Yet, Lin Xiao remained oblivious to these happenings. After stepping outside, he wandered aimlessly along the bustling streets, surveying the familiar scenery with a mind in disarray. Suddenly, he inadvertently collided with someone approaching from the opposite direction. Apologies, he exclaimed, only to find himself facing a girl clad in a blue dress of a similar age to him, yet blossoming into the epitome of youthful beauty. Humph, are you blind while walking? She retorted, delivering a playful punch to his chest before striding away. Lin Xiao contemplated this encounter, finding it amusing, and muttered, it seems that those endowed with beauty also possess fiery tempers. Nonetheless, that little fist against my chest was rather pleasant. He instinctively touched his chest, only to discover a small piece of paper tucked within his collar. Instantly alert, he refrained from extracting it and continued walking nonchalantly. The girl, noticing Lin Xiao's reaction from a distance, nodded to herself, relieved that he was not lacking in wit, otherwise, the situation could have become troublesome. Chapter 4, The Mystery of Lineage, Part 2. Casually strolling for a while, Lin Xiao purchased some snacks and trinkets from several stalls. While paying, he seized the opportunity to discreetly retrieve the paper, glancing at it to find it inscribed with the message, meet at the cave in the back mountain. Lin Xiao raised an eyebrow, stealthily crumpling the note into tiny fragments before making his way towards the back mountain. Although the note bore no indication of time, Lin Xiao felt an insatiable urge to hasten his journey, as an instinct whispered to him that this visit would unravel many of his lingering uncertainties. Before long, he arrived at the cave, his heart brimming with trepidation and caution. He cautiously stepped inside, noting that his counterpart had yet to arrive. It was not due to any lack of vigilance on Lin Xiao's part, rather, the meticulous manner in which the other had conveyed the message to someone as defenseless as himself made it difficult for Lin Xiao to harbor any animosity. After all, if the intention had been to end his life, such elaborate measures seemed unnecessary. The cave was desolate, and feeling a sense of ennui, Lin Xiao decided to meditate for a while, hoping to catch a glimpse of his Qi once more. As he settled into his practice state, he suddenly felt the world spin around him. Upon opening his eyes, he was utterly astonished. He had just been in the cave, yet now found himself in what appeared to be a paradise untouched by time. Verdant trees dripped with lush greenery, and beside him lay a crystal-clear lake, all enveloped by majestic mountains. Most striking of all was a grand tree before him, vibrant and teeming with life. Are you stunned? A voice suddenly chimed from behind him, belonging to a young girl. Lin Xiao swiftly turned to see the woman he had encountered on the street that day, though she now appeared transformed, exuding grace and refinement. Beside her stood an elderly man, his face etched with the marks of time, yet his eyes sparkled with clarity akin to that of youth. A tuft of small whiskers adorned his visage. While he may not possess the ethereal demeanor of an immortal, it was evident that he was a person of great wisdom. Lin Xiao clasped his fists in a respectful gesture towards the elder, inquiring, Senior, what brings me to this place? Oh, Bai Yi, why must you expose people's secrets? The girl pouted, turning her head away in a playful yet endearing manner. Lin Xiao, observing the pair, felt utterly perplexed and found himself at a loss for words, standing still and awaiting their initiative to converse with him. Sensing the awkwardness of leaving Lin Xiao in silence, the elder chuckled awkwardly and gestured towards the young girl, saying, This is someone you have indeed met before. Care to take a guess? The elder smiled faintly, his eyes glinting with mischief as he took a flask from his waist and began savoring its contents. Liu Xing, hello, Lin Xiao blurted out without a moment's hesitation. The elder was caught off guard, coughing violently as the wine spewed forth, traveling a considerable distance. Before he could respond, the girl interjected, Lu Xing is a male. How could I possibly be Lu Xing? Are you foolish? Lin Xiao, unfazed, responded with a smile. How do you know Lu Xing is a male? To me, you appear quite feminine. I was dressed in men's clothing and had altered my appearance. There was no way I could resemble a female. She huffed, feeling outmaneuvered by Lin Xiao, and fell silent in frustration. At that moment, the elder regained his composure, chuckling as he remarked, "With your intellect, it's no wonder you worried that Lin Xiao might be a fool when you delivered the note. Now it's clear who the fool truly is." Just as the girl was about to retort, the elder swiftly interjected, "Let us not digress, Lin Xiao, you are quite astute, so I shall be direct. This girl's name is Lu Xing'er, and like you, she initially lacked the ability to cultivate. One day, however, she discovered an egg within her qi. See, the elder emphasized the word egg with a notable weight. Lin Xiao neither refuted nor agreed, merely gazing intently at the elder, awaiting further elaboration. A fine young lad, indeed, displaying remarkable composure, chuckled the elder. "I am known as Lu Bai, you may call me Bai Yi. The steward of the Lu family. Long ago, during the Great War between humans and demons, there existed 6 prominent clans on this continent, the Gu, Lin, Lu Su, Luo, and Mo families. During that tumultuous conflict, the leaders of these 6 clans were all at the Void Realm, serving as the pinnacle of strength, guiding their kin and wandering cultivators in the battle against the demon race. This fierce struggle persisted for a full 3 years, during which a significant event transpired. The patriarch of the Luo family, Luo Feng, succumbed to the allure of a demoness, ultimately falling in love with her. It was later revealed that this demoness had lured Luo Feng with the intention of undermining us from within. At this juncture, Bai Yi regarded Lin Xiao and continued, "Fortunately, your father discerned the underlying treachery in time, sparing humanity from disaster." "Bai Yi, do you know my father?" Lin Xiao stammered, his voice trembling. "Why do I have such a vague recollection of him?" After much internal struggle, he finally mustered the courage to voice his query. Bai Yi took a sip of wine, pondered for a moment, and replied slowly, "Not only do I know him, young one, but it is entirely natural for you to harbor doubts. However, what I am about to reveal may well be described as astonishingly unconventional." Lin Xiao nodded, refraining from further inquiries, aware that as his strength grew, many truths would inevitably reveal themselves, due to Luo Feng's clandestine dealings with the demons. Numerous secrets were divulged, leading to significant casualties among the human race. Aware of his grievous sins and the impending judgment from the other clans, Luo Feng proclaimed his intention to atone by confronting the demons to the death. Unexpectedly, he proved to be a coward, feigning a decisive battle while secretly leading his entire clan to ally with the demons, ultimately rising to the rank of an elder among them. Observing the 2 children as they endeavored to absorb this information, Bai Yi chose not to rush through his narration, pausing intermittently to allow the gravity of his words to sink in. Clearing his throat, he resumed, "In the aftermath of the Luo family's betrayal, over the years, the demon and human races naturally intermingled. Given that their appearances were not vastly different, save for their divergent cultivation methods, the balance between the 2 races was disrupted by the human race's integration into the demon's fold. Consequently, certain individuals of the demon race have become increasingly difficult to distinguish, which explains why you have yet to realize that you have been living among demons." Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao, already filled with trepidation, felt a chill run down his spine at the final revelation, his heart surging with tumultuous waves, forcing him to take deep breaths to calm his racing thoughts. Meanwhile, Lu Xing'er, astonishingly unperturbed, noticed Lin Xiao's gaze upon her and feigned an expression of nonchalance, casually remarking, "As expected, just as I suspected." This expression elicited a hearty laugh from Bai Yi. In truth, he had previously shared these revelations with Lu Xing'er, who had taken 2 full days to recover her capacity for rational thought. Observing Lin Xiao, despite his evident shock, he maintained his composure, diligently striving to steady his emotions. In this regard, Bai Yi silently acknowledged, "A tiger begets no dog. All that you know has been conveyed to you by the denizens of the demon race, and thus cannot be deemed entirely trustworthy." During the tumultuous years of the war between humans and demons, the wives of the Lin and Lu families gave birth to heirs. Lady Lin bore a son, while Lady Lu delivered a daughter. Yourselves, upon your births, a celestial anomaly occurred, manifesting as a spectrum of colors in the sky, accompanied by the faint sounds of dragon roars and phoenix cries, shortly after your arrival. The incident involving Luo Feng came to light, leading him to defect to the demon realm under the guise of atonement. Subsequently, Luo Feng reappeared within human territory, accompanied by several formidable demon warriors, prompting the other 5 major families to take immediate action. To their astonishment, after a brief skirmish, Luo Feng and his cohorts withdrew decisively. Just as confusion settled among the families, grave news arrived: the infant Lin Xiao and Lu Xing'er had been abducted. Though the credibility of Bai Yi's words seemed exceedingly high, Lin Xiao remained skeptical, for in such times, one cannot fully trust anyone. He merely inquired, "Senior, this matter is too extraordinary. I have several questions that require validation before I can believe it." "I hope for your understanding." Bai Yi nodded in acquiescence. "Speak freely. Why do I feel as if I have dreamed a dream that repeats itself upon waking? How does Lu Xing'er know of events that transpired in my dreams? Why was I previously unable to cultivate?" Lin Xiao posed 3 questions in quick succession. Both Lin Xiao and Lu Xing'er nodded in agreement, refraining from interrupting Bai Yi's contemplation, as they too needed time to digest the information they had received that day. 30+ infants, what could be the reason? Lin Xiao murmured, pondering a matter that even Bai Yi was unaware of. The magnitude of today's revelations was already overwhelming. Suddenly Lin Xiao remarked, having been here for so long. If I were to be surveilled by the demon race, it would indeed pose a significant problem. This, Bai Yi chuckled heartily, responding, the powerful beings of the void realm each possess their own domains. Your consciousness merely resides with me while your true self continues to cultivate in the cave. However, we have discussed what needed to be addressed. The rest shall unfold as circumstances dictate, and I shall protect you from the shadows. Although I have rescued Lu Xing'er, those guarding you are not weaker than I am. My previous efforts were effortlessly countered by one of them. I also sensed the presence of yet another formidable entity overseeing you. Exercise caution in all matters. I will thank you, Senior. Lin Xiao expressed his gratitude with a respectful bow, appreciative of the insights Bai Yi had provided, which rekindled his motivation to persevere, just as he intended to bid farewell to Lu Xing'er. He opened his eyes to find that there was no ethereal paradise. He remained in the cave, maintaining his posture of cultivation, yet Lin Xiao understood that this time it was not merely a dream. Chapter 5, Adapting to Change. Within the cave, spiritual energy surged rapidly into Lin Xiao's being. Though he could not discern the entirety of the situation, the elevation of his strength remained paramount. As he cultivated, Lin Xiao also harbored hopes that by serendipity he might once again glimpse the sea of qi and engage in discourse with the egg, for he felt that there were perhaps many matters of which the egg was more knowledgeable than even the esteemed Bai Yi. Time slips away in the blink of an eye. 3 days have passed in an instant. During this brief span, Lin Xiao has been fervently absorbing spiritual energy, which has been gathering in his energy sea. He feels his energy sea becoming increasingly full, and he understands that once it reaches saturation, he will be able to illuminate the 10th level of the spiritual tower, with the 10th level activated. He can step into the realm of weapon spirits and cultivate profound techniques. Meanwhile, in the inner chamber of the Lin family, a veiled woman sits cross-legged upon her bed, seemingly engaged in her own practice. However, the slight tremors of her brows reveal that she is not at ease. A cerulean orb hovers above her head, exuding a faint chill. Should Lin Xiao behold this orb, he would undoubtedly be rendered speechless. For it bears an uncanny resemblance to the egg of his energy sea, albeit in a different hue. After a while, the woman in white suddenly coughs up a mouthful of blood, staining her white veil. An elderly man, upon hearing the commotion, hastens to her side. He is none other than Lin Xiao's old steward, also known as the Left Guardian in the eyes of the veiled woman, Second Miss. Has your injury flared up again? The Left Guardian inquires with evident concern. The demon clan chieftain has twin daughters, both as beautiful as celestial beings, and the sisters bear a striking resemblance to one another. The elder is named Lu Ruoxuan, while the younger is called Lu Ruoyan. Their relationship is fraught with tension. It is said that not long ago, they clashed violently over a certain matter, resulting in Lu Ruoyan's injury. Just as Lu Ruoxuan was about to deliver a fatal blow, the demon chieftain intervened, but the affair ultimately faded into obscurity. The reasons remain unknown, as does how the chieftain chose to resolve the situation. Lu Ruoyan, supporting her forehead, removes her veil to reveal an unparalleled beauty. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, she nods and says, "My sister is truly ruthless, taking advantage of our father's absence to employ the hidden weapon." The evil scale needle. What? The evil scale needle? I have only heard whispers of it, knowing it to be a most sinister concealed weapon, the Left Guardian exclaims, clenching his fists in indignation. As she rolls up her sleeve, Lu Ruoyan reveals her arm, where a conspicuous green spot has appeared on the acupoint known as Tsuza, subtly emanating a sense of upward movement. Once this green spot reaches the extreme spring acupoint, even a celestial being would be unable to save me, she states with an air of resignation, as if she has already accepted her fate. Is there truly no remedy? Can the chieftain not cure you? The evil scale needle is not merely a concealed weapon, but rather a technique that can only be wielded by those with a dark attribute in their weapon spirit. It transforms one's spiritual energy into an invisible needle, merging it with the power of their weapon spirit. The afflicted, unless they can discover a counteracting attribute to their sister's weapon spirit, stand little chance of salvation. Lu Ruoyan harbors a glimmer of hope. Aware that members of the demon clan cannot possess a light attribute in their weapon spirit, a trait exclusive to the human race, it has long been said that the two races can only be distinguished by their techniques. Indeed, humans can practice the demon clan's techniques, and vice versa. The sole distinction lies in the fact that humans cannot possess dark attributes, while demons cannot possess light attributes. Oh, I see now, your sister's weapon spirit is of the dark attribute. No wonder she was able to injure you. The chieftain has not punished her, for the dark attribute signifies the future of your sister within the demon clan, the Left Guardian realizes, as past uncertainties begin to clarify. 25 years ago, the chieftain of the demon clan gave birth to two daughters, Lu Ruoxuan and Lu Ruoyan, an event that precipitated an extraordinary phenomenon in the heavens and the earth. Ancient texts record that at the moment of birth, The attributes of one's spirit essence are predetermined, categorized into 4 common elements, water, fire, earth, and wood, as well as 3 mutated elements, ice, thunder, and wind, culminating in the most formidable attributes of light and darkness. Those endowed with light or darkness attributes possess the ability to comprehend the laws of time and space, ascending to become the most powerful figures in both the human and demon clans. However, the ancient texts also mention that the emergence of 3 specific attributes can evoke celestial anomalies. Aside from light and darkness, there exists yet another attribute, though the texts remain silent on its nature. Merely stating that 3 attributes are implicated when Lu Ruochuan and Lu Ruoyan were born, the extraordinary phenomenon ensued, delighting the chieftain who perceived it as a divine blessing. The long-dormant darkness attribute had finally returned. Yet, at that time, it was unclear which sister possessed the darkness attribute, necessitating their cultivation to the spirit essence realm before the truth could be unveiled. The subsequent events unfolded predictably, although Lu Ruoyan, with her superior talent, reached the spirit essence realm first. It was revealed that she possessed the mutated ice attribute. The chieftain was exceedingly pleased, for the ice attribute is also formidable. However, his affections for Lu Ruochuan were markedly more pronounced. Lu Ruochuan, feeling overshadowed by her sister's achievements, began to bully her relentlessly. After gaining their father's favor, the chieftain observed the discord between the sisters but refrained from intervention, adhering to the adage that victors are justified. Experiencing such trials early on was not necessarily detrimental. The darkness attribute was far too precious, while the ice attribute, though not as esteemed, remained a superior gift. As both were his daughters, he appointed 2 guardians from the demon clan to protect the sisters, the right guardian, Fenshin, to watch over the elder sister, and the left guardian Shuemao to safeguard the younger. The demon clan possesses 2 prominent guardians, who serve as the chieftain's right and left arms, representing the highest combat prowess within the clan. Second only to the chieftain himself, the demon clan is deeply rooted, bolstered by the 4 great demon palaces, each named after the fearsome beasts, Taodai, Chengqi, Tu, and Hundan, which stand sentinel over the southeast, southwest, northeast, and northwest of the demon realm. Of course, the human clan is not lacking in depth either, but that is a tale for another time. After an indeterminate period, tranquility returned to the cave. Lin Xiao exhaled a heavy breath, acutely aware of his burgeoning spiritual power. Feeling a surge of awe within, although he remained uncertain of how many layers he could illuminate, nevertheless, his instincts assured him it would not be meager. Meanwhile, within the Lin family's inner chamber, Lu Ruoyan had ceased her healing process. Glancing at the left guardian who lingered nearby, feeling a swell of gratitude, with a faint smile, she inquired, "Did you accompany Lin Xiao in such a manner when you impersonated the old steward?" Upon hearing this, the left guardian erupted into hearty laughter. "Miss, you jest. I was quite exhausted from the performance. At times, I feared my portrayal was lacking, prompting me to subtly assault his consciousness to erase any poorly executed memories." Lu Ruoyan was amused, considering it a challenge to have a guardian known for their ruthlessness attend to a young human boy. Nevertheless, we must devise a strategy to facilitate his cultivation. Once he reaches the spirit essence realm, we shall discern his true attribute. The left guardian suddenly comprehended. "Miss, are you suggesting that if he possesses the light attribute, we should utilize it to aid your healing?" However, the chieftain has decreed that upon locating a boy with the light attribute, he is to be presented as a sacrifice to Lord Pishu at the earliest opportunity. Lu Ruoyan waved her hand dismissively, saying, "No worries, it is better to heal the wounds before making any sacrifices. As long as the heavens, the earth, you, and I are aware of this matter, that suffices. However, it is peculiar. If my father truly wishes to offer sacrifices of those with light attributes, why not sacrifice all the children at once?" Instead of scrutinizing them one by one, the left guardian, in truth, harbored some doubts. The ambition of the demon clan leader was far greater than he had anticipated, yet that is a tale for another time. The left guardian felt a surge of trepidation. The second miss had already mastered her techniques to an extraordinary level. Although she was merely at the spiritual realm, her speed was such that even a powerful being at the void realm would hesitate to claim complete dominance over her. It was indeed strange. How could she have progressed so swiftly? He did not dwell on it for long. After all, the guardians were loyal to the demon clan. Despite their high status, they would not recklessly pry into their master's affairs. Slightly altering his appearance and concealing his spiritual energy, he ensured that unless one's cultivation surpassed his, it would be impossible to discern his spiritual power. After locating an empty table, he called out, "Boss, bring me 2 baskets of buns." Before long, the young waiter brought the 2 baskets of buns to the table. After casting a glance at Lin Xiao, he quickly smiled and said, "Oh, young hero, you've come again. It's been quite a while." Lin Xiao chuckled heartily, thinking to himself that he truly admired the business acumen of this individual, and teasingly remarked, "I've only been here once, and you remember me so well?" "Once?" The waiter was momentarily taken aback. "Young hero, you truly have a poor memory. Over the past 6 months, you have visited here almost every 3 to 5 days." The waiter had always regarded Lin Xiao as a peculiar person. Each time he came, the waiter would take the initiative to greet him, yet Lin Xiao would act as if he were a stranger. It was rare for Lin Xiao to acknowledge him this time. And yet he only recalled having been here once. The waiter looked at Lin Xiao with a surge of sympathy, thinking how unfortunate it was for someone so young and reasonably good-looking to be so forgetful. Akin to his own senile grandfather, how pitiful. Lin Xiao, feeling somewhat at a loss, buried his head in the buns, yet his mind was occupied with thoughts. Had he truly visited here many times? Where had those memories vanished? The buns were soon devoured, and Lin Xiao could not arrive at a conclusion. Nonetheless, he understood that as he enhanced his strength, he would undoubtedly uncover the truth. His current priority was to diligently cultivate, adapting to the ever-changing circumstances. Meanwhile, the left guardian, masquerading as the old steward, awaited Lin Xiao in his courtyard, standing with his hands clasped behind his back, eyes closed in meditation, gazing towards the Lin family's entrance. A faint, enigmatic smile crept upon the old steward's face. Chapter 6, Elevation of Status. After finishing the buns, Lin Xiao ambled towards the Lin residence, burping softly, his mind engaged in a fierce internal struggle. Baiye's words were exceedingly shocking, making it difficult to discern their authenticity. Nevertheless, Baiye's statements corroborated many of Lin Xiao's prior suspicions, lending them considerable credibility. Regardless, the enemy remained in the shadows while he stood in the light. Every action must be taken with caution. Yes, you all, have you eaten? Lin Xiao, clearly unaccustomed to such deference, was momentarily thrown off balance by the unexpected respect, leaving him flustered and unsure how to respond. The guards, visibly taken aback, promptly replied, "Thanks to the young master, we are not hungry." Lin Xiao offered a polite, awkward smile and stepped through the door. Upon perceiving Lin Xiao, the clansfolk greeted him warmly, even the illustrious Lin Yu, the pride of the Lin family, engaged him in cheerful conversation. Although Lin Xiao felt a surge of joy, he was acutely aware that this distinctiveness was meticulously orchestrated for his benefit. As he entered the courtyard, he spotted the venerable steward seated leisurely on the stone bench, savoring a cup of tea. The steward, upon noticing Lin Xiao, beckoned him with a jovial invitation to join him for a refreshing cup of tea and a moment's respite. Lin Xiao, with a smile, raised his teacup and drained it in one go, then stretched lazily, exclaiming his fatigue. By your appearance, it seems there are fluctuations of spiritual energy, the steward inquired suddenly. Indeed, it appears I may have discovered a method for cultivation this time, Lin Xiao candidly revealed, though he found it curious that the steward, seemingly devoid of spiritual energy himself, could perceive the energy of others. It seemed that actions were imminent. Lin Xiao maintained a composed demeanor while internally bracing himself with heightened vigilance. A gentle breeze wafted through, imparting an unusual tranquility to the air. For reasons unknown, Lin Xiao felt as though, in an instant, he had transitioned to an alternate realm that mirrored the previous one. "What troubles you, little one?" the steward inquired, affectionately patting Lin Xiao's head. Unbeknownst to Lin Xiao, the steward's hand was emanating tendrils of dark energy, gradually infiltrating his being. The surroundings were eerily silent, devoid of any sound. Even as birds flitted about, frolicking in playful abandon, the air bore no trace of a breeze. Despite the nearby trees swaying in the wind, attempting to articulate something, Lin Xiao discovered he could produce no sound. Even when straining to shout with his mouth agape, the scene before him grew increasingly indistinct, not merely fading but rather dissolving into a pure white void. A wave of disorientation washed over him, and Lin Xiao suddenly felt an overwhelming drowsiness. His consciousness began to blur. He instinctively recalled the events that had transpired, yet they felt dreamlike and elusive, just as he was on the brink of slumber. A ripple surged within his energy reservoir, and a refreshing sensation coursed through his mind, prompting a resurgence of memory. Lin Xiao was uncertain of the specifics but felt assured that the egg within his energy reservoir had aided him. Nevertheless, he feigned sleep, eager to observe the steward's next moves. Lin Xiao sensed himself being lifted gently, drifting toward his bed, at which point he heard a woman's voice nearby. "Left guardian, has everything gone smoothly?" The speaker was none other than the second miss of the demonic clan, Lu Ruoyan. Just as before, this lad has had his memories wiped so many times, there will be no issues. The left guardian chuckled heartily, confident in his infallibility and neglecting to scrutinize Lin Xiao's consciousness closely. The two shared a tacit understanding. Refraining from further conversation, Lin Xiao was oblivious to their intentions but dared not open his eyes to sneak a glance. Acutely aware that even the slightest movement could alert powerful adversaries, despite their current overconfidence. As a brief interval passed, Lin Xiao's mind was inundated with a plethora of words, as if his memories were being rewritten. Lin Xiao meticulously analyzed the words and discerned several notable differences. Firstly, he recognized that he was the young master of the Lin family. Secondly, he noted the inclusion of Lu Xing'er into the Lin household. Lastly, he learned that a formidable expert from the branch of the Lin family known as Lin Yuyan had been summoned to train the younger generation. After a while, Lin Xiao heard footsteps of someone departing. Yet he did not dare to relax. Feeling fatigued, he succumbed to slumber. Upon awakening, he found it was already midday. The chirping of birds outside mingled with the sounds of clan members bustling about, creating a serene atmosphere. Stretching leisurely, he washed his face briefly before pushing open the door to step outside. "Young master, you are awake." Upon opening the door, he was taken aback by the sight before him. Several attractive maidens awaited at the entrance, some carrying grooming utensils, others presenting tea and snacks, while a few held exquisite garments. Lin Xiao, maintaining his composure, nodded subtly and graciously accepted their service, as his memories dictated he should. It is often said that one is judged by their attire, and after meticulous grooming and a change of clothes, Lin Xiao appeared transformed, his glossy flowing hair, elongated brows, deep, tranquil black eyes, slightly pursed lips, and sharply defined facial features. Though somewhat youthful, exuded an aura of coldness that belied his age. While changing, a clan member conveyed a message that Lin Xiao was to join for lunch in the inner hall, as an important announcement was to be made. Lin Xiao understood that the time had come to showcase his acting skills. He rapidly recalled the old butler's admonitions regarding memory retention, ensuring that he would leave no room for error. What needed to be remembered should be, and what was to be forgotten must be feigned. As such, the inner hall buzzed with rare liveliness, and the opulent decorations spoke volumes of the family's prestigious standing point. 4 grand pillars adorned the hall, each intricately carved with lifelike dragons, their eyes embedded with genuine magic crystals from 4th-tier magical beasts. It is noteworthy that the strength of a 4th-tier beast is comparable to that of a spirit realm master. And these beasts are notoriously combative, making them more formidable than typical opponents of the same rank. The dragon eyes on the pillars represented the elemental crystals of water, fire, earth, and wood, showcasing the profound heritage of the Lin family. At the center stood a large round table, the main table of the gathering, where the highest-ranking and most esteemed individuals sat, the current clan leader and various elders, seated with utmost decorum, with 2 additional seats reserved. Near the entrance, another round table accommodated the young elites of the Lin family, including Lin Xun and Lin Yu, the pride of the Lin lineage. Liu Xing'er had also been invited, though at this moment she was known simply as Lu Xing and masquerading as a man. There were also several unfamiliar faces, likely young talents who had joined the family like Lu Xing'er or promising youths from the Lin family's branches. Before long, Lin Xiao arrived in the inner hall and, upon witnessing the multitude gathered, was momentarily stunned, uncertain of the momentous announcement at hand. Upon spotting Lin Xiao, Lu Xing'er waved at him, but he merely glanced her way and chose to ignore her. As if unacquainted, this behavior pleased the left protector, who was observing Lin Xiao from the shadows, affirming that Lin Xiao's memory had indeed been successfully altered. Before Lin Xiao could utter a word, the clan leader boomed, "Come, come, young one, sit beside me." As soon as he took his seat, the clan leader rose to signal for silence, then proceeded to extol Lin Xiao, uttering a series of grandiose praises. Lin Xiao observed that all present cast him looks filled with respect and admiration, save for Lu Xing'er, who wore an expression of confusion, and Lin Xun, whose gaze was rife with hostility. In that instant, Lin Xiao surmised that Lin Xun might serve as a crucial link in his quest for the truth. After the clan leader finished lauding Lin Xiao, he encouraged the younger generation of the Lin family and warmly welcomed the young masters of foreign clans. Everything unfolded with such naturalness. Finally, the clan leader paused for a moment, cleared his throat, and the assembly again awaited his words. He then proclaimed with great ceremony the introduction of the Lin family branch's prodigy, the 25-year-old spiritual realm powerhouse Lin Yuyan. The moment these words escaped his lips, a chorus of gasps echoed throughout the hall. What did it signify to be a 25-year-old spiritual realm powerhouse? To be deemed a genius, one typically needed to break through to the artifact spirit realm by the age of 20. Many took half a lifetime to ascend from the artifact spirit realm to the spiritual sea realm, as it required not only the accumulation of spiritual energy but also the enhancement of one's artifact spirit quality. This demanded both innate talent and ample resources. If Lin Yuyan hailed from a branch of the Lin family, it implied that resources were likely scarce, suggesting that this individual possessed an extraordinary talent. Lin Xiao, observing the reactions of the crowd, sensed their astonishment was genuine. It seemed they were unaware of who Lin Yuyan was. Just as Lin Xiao pondered why the left protector had not informed everyone in advance about Lin Yuyan, a figure glided through the entrance, with graceful steps and a smile gracing her lips. She approached the clan leader. She was breathtakingly beautiful, an ineffable beauty. In Chapter 7, a familiar feeling. The audience found it difficult to divert their gaze, faintly hearing the sounds of many swallowing nervously. Even Lin Yu, the pride of the Lin family, struggled to suppress her jealousy, while Lu Xing'er displayed a dazed expression. Had Lin Xiao not known she was disguised as a male, he might have genuinely believed she was losing her composure. Only 2 individuals remained clear-minded amidst the throng, the clan leader and Lin Xiao, while even the elders seemed to exhibit subtle signs of rejuvenation. Of course, the observant elders remained vigilant as well. Lin Xiao was not devoid of appreciation. However, upon catching sight of Lin Yuyan, he was struck by an inexplicable sense of familiarity. What puzzled him further was the naturalness with which everyone behaved. The enamored expressions on their faces were difficult to feign, and even Lin Xun, who had previously set himself apart, found himself swallowing nervously like the rest. Witnessing this spectacle, Lin Xiao couldn't help but roll his eyes. As Lin Yuyan approached, she bowed to the clan leader and then fixed a playful gaze upon Lin Xiao. The intensity of her stare made him uncomfortable, especially as the men present cast envious glances his way. If such looks could manifest as spiritual energy, Lin Xiao would surely meet a most tragic fate. With no other recourse, Lin Xiao clasped his fists and said to Sister, "Could you refrain from staring solely at me? I have yet to undergo my coming-of-age ceremony. Do take a look at others. They are all older than I. Older. In what way?" Lin Yuyan playfully bit her lip, her voice dripping with allure. The sound of numerous cups crashing to the floor reverberated throughout the hall. What a mischievous sprite, Lin Xiao inwardly cursed. Choosing to disregard her presence, Lin Yuyan observed that this Lin Xiao was rather amusing. As he, unlike others, was not captivated by her beauty, yet, a tinge of disappointment lingered within her. She could not fathom why Lin Xiao evoked a sense of familiarity in her, a sentiment that had never graced her before his inability to cultivate spiritual energy. After a brief interlude of silence, a chorus of cheers erupted from the crowd, particularly among the younger members of the clan, who were exceptionally exhilarated. The young talents from outside clans, too, were almost fervently eager to pledge their loyalty to the Lin family. Paying no heed to the jubilant outbursts of others, Lin Yuyan merely parted her crimson lips and addressed Lin Xiao. "I look forward to your guidance henceforth." Noticing the gaze of the crowd fixated upon him, Lin Xiao decided to embrace the moment with poise, clasping his fists together and solemnly replying, "I humbly seek your guidance as well." Observing Lin Xiao's maturity that belied his years, Lin Yuyan's interest in him deepened. While the hidden left protector surveyed the surroundings like a venomous serpent, a smile gracing his lips that hinted at ulterior motives, the banquet soon came to a close, with the clan leader symbolically sharing visions for the future before allowing everyone to disperse and rest early for the training that awaited them the next day. Upon returning to the courtyard, the old steward remained seated at the stone bench beneath the tree, as if he had never left. Indeed, tomorrow marked the commencement of their collective cultivation, a prospect that excited Lin Xiao. "You should rest early, but for now, you are not truly cultivating. It is only when you break through to the instrument spirit realm that it will hold significant meaning." Upon reaching the instrument spirit realm, "Will we not be selected by the Southern Sect Academy for the highest mentorship?" Lin Xiao suddenly recalled the admission criteria of the Southern Sect Academy and casually inquired of the old steward. The steward appeared momentarily taken aback, but soon waved his hand nonchalantly, responding, "No matter how prestigious the academy, it cannot compare to the dedicated nurturing of our family. It would not be too late to join the academy once you reach the spiritual sea realm." "Understood, then I shall strive earnestly, hoping to step into the spiritual sea realm." "You certainly will. The family will ensure you attain the spiritual sea realm soon, becoming a person of distinction." The old steward seemed quite pleased with Lin Xiao's understanding. Lin Xiao reflected on the events of the day, concluding that the demonic clan would not act against him for the time being, at least until he reached the spiritual sea realm. Furthermore, Lin Zun might not be involved in the demonic clan schemes. He could serve as a breakthrough point for Lin Xiao. Regardless, enhancing his strength remained paramount, yet Lin Xiao harbored some uncertainties. Who was Lin Yuyan? Why did she evoke such familiarity? As he approached the training grounds, the vibrant commotion reached his ears from afar. It was evident that a throng of gentlemen were vying for Lin Yuyan's attention. Indeed, upon arriving at the training grounds, he witnessed everyone clamoring to converse with her, while only Lu Xing'er stood apart like an anomaly. Lin Xiao approached and playfully tapped Lu Xing'er's shoulder, exclaiming, "Brother Lu, with such a beauty before you, how can you remain so composed?" Lu Xing'er, lost in thought, felt an instant familiarity upon seeing Lin Xiao. Ready to express her excitement, however, Lin Xiao gestured for her to remain composed and continued. "Since our last encounter, I have sensed your remarkable presence, Brother Lu. Today, it seems you still embody the virtues of a true gentleman. I am truly in admiration." Lu Xing'er is not foolish. She instantly comprehended Lin Xiao's intentions and clasped her fists, saying, "When it comes to being a virtuous gentleman, I must confess that I fall short of Lin Brother in many respects." Yesterday, Lin Brother was graciously invited by a beauty yet maintained his composure, which commands even greater admiration. As the two engaged in their feigned mutual flattery, Lin Yuyan spotted Lin Xiao and exclaimed, "Since everyone is present, let us commence." A resounding cheer erupted from the crowd, invigorating even the young ladies. After surveying her surroundings and allowing the crowd to settle, Lin Yuyan continued, "Firstly, all of you seated here have already illuminated at least the 6th tier of the Spirit Power Tower. As you all know, upon illuminating the pinnacle of the tower, one can cultivate their own weapon spirit. The realm of weapon spirit is, in essence, the true first step in cultivation. In other words, only those who have cultivated a weapon spirit can be deemed warriors." "Have you tested the Spirit Power Tower?" Lu Xing'er quietly inquired of Lin Xiao. "I tested it in a dream." Lin Xiao replied with a cryptic remark that Lu Xing'er could not decipher. In truth, Lin Xiao had not undergone any testing. Rather, the left protector had altered his memories and informed him that he had already illuminated the 9th tier and was on the verge of illuminating the pinnacle. Just as Lin Xiao was about to suppress a chuckle, Lin Yuyan suddenly formed a seal, and a spirit power tower seemingly materialized out of thin air. As she continued to form seals, the tower unexpectedly grew larger, transforming into a magnificent 10-tiered pagoda that stood towering over the Lin family estate. Everyone proceeded to cultivate in the corresponding tiers based on the levels they had illuminated. Where the spirit power was tenfold that of the outside world, this served as my welcoming gift to all of you. The crowd was still reeling from the astonishing transformation of the pagoda when Lin Yuyan's words left them utterly astounded. Followed by ecstatic joy, tenfold spirit power meant that 1 day of cultivation equated to 10 days of training. Without further ado, they expressed their gratitude and swiftly ascended the tower. The tower possessed a mystical nature. Upon entry, individuals were directly transported to the tier that suited them best. If one could not break through, there was no path to ascend, they could only automatically be transported to the next tier after achieving a breakthrough. Just as Lin Xiao was about to enter, Lin Yuyan gestured for him to wait a moment, allowing the others to go ahead first. In an instant, the training ground was left with only Lin Xiao and Lin Yuyan. Lin Yuyan fixed her gaze on Lin Xiao, about to speak when she suddenly seemed to recall something, pausing briefly before stating, "You possess the finest aptitude here. I shall accompany you to the pinnacle for cultivation. Let us go." Without further ado, she seized Lin Xiao's hand and led him into the tower, where they were directly transported to the 10th tier. After a brief moment of disorientation, Lin Xiao steadied himself and surveyed the entirety of the uppermost level, which was starkly empty save for a few mats for seating, with various attribute spirit stones embedded in the surrounding walls, emanating a gentle glow. These are known as spirit stones, unique stones nurtured by the essence of heaven and earth, which can aid warriors in their cultivation and serve many other purposes that you will gradually come to understand. Noticing Lin Xiao's gaze lingering on the spirit stones, Lin Yuyan introduced them to him. As Lin Xiao beheld her exquisite visage, he was acutely aware that she was arranged by the demonic clan, yet for reasons unknown, he found it difficult to harbor animosity towards her. At that moment, Lin Yuyan, feeling Lin Xiao's gaze upon her, suddenly felt a bit uneasy. Summoning her courage, she locked eyes with Lin Xiao and asked, "Do we know each other?" Chapter 8, Unable to break through? Lin Xiao scrutinized the woman before him, indeed sensing an inexplicably familiar feeling, yet he could not recall where he had encountered her. It can only be attributed to the memories that have previously been tampered with. "I do not recall having encountered you before. You may have mistaken me for someone else." Lin Xiao was uncertain whether this was indeed a test for him, thus he felt compelled to speak truthfully. "Oh, perhaps I am overthinking it. You are not even at the spirit vessel realm. How could you possibly be him?" The last sentence was uttered by Lin Yuyan in a voice so soft that it was barely audible. Yet Lin Xiao caught it and thought to himself, "So she has mistaken me for another." Exchanging glances in silence, Lin Yuyan let out a gentle sigh and said, "Well then, you may commence your cultivation. This place is not only rich in spiritual energy but also possesses all attributes of spiritual power, including rare attributes and the light attribute." It was as if she was hinting at something, for her voice noticeably rose when she mentioned the light attribute. Nodding in acknowledgement, Lin Xiao settled down to begin his meditation. Lin Yuyan observed him, her mind reflecting, "He bears an uncanny resemblance. Yet how could that be? 7 years have passed since I was 18. At that time, he appeared to be merely 15 or 16. Not be why now, he should have long since matured. It cannot be the Lin Xiao of the present." With this thought, Lin Yuyan felt a strange sense of loss and departed from the spirit tower, leaving Lin Xiao to cultivate in solitude. In the courtyard, the left guardian was leisurely sipping tea when Lin Yuyan entered and naturally seated herself across from him, resting her chin on her hand in contemplation. "What troubles you, second miss?" the left guardian inquired with a smile, casting a glance at Lin Yuyan. She was indeed Lu Ruoyan, the second miss of the demon clan, now appearing openly within the Lin family, having come to facilitate her subsequent actions now that Lin Xiao was capable of cultivation. Left guardian, did you know, when Lin Xiao was unable to cultivate, I did not perceive anything particularly distinctive about his aura, but ever since he awakened and acquired spiritual energy, I suddenly find his aura remarkably familiar. Oh, the aura has become familiar. That shouldn't be the case. He has always been right under our noses. How could such a sensation arise? The left guardian appeared equally perplexed. Meanwhile, Lin Xiao had fully immersed himself in his cultivation. The spiritual energy here was abundant, and he noted that the greatest difference from his time spent in the cave was that, while the cave was rich in earth and wood attributes, with relatively scarce water attributes and almost no fire attributes, here he sensed a remarkable balance of water, fire, earth, and wood attributes, along with the essence of wind, the chill of ice, the tingling of thunder, and faint traces of light and darkness. The walls of the spirit tower were embedded with various spirit stones, predominantly featuring the common water, fire, earth, and wood attributes. There were also several spirit stones of the special attributes of wind, thunder, and ice, although they were of lesser quality compared to the common ones, likely due to the rarity of the special attributes. Additionally, there were a few seemingly ordinary stones that emitted a faint light or a subtle dark aura. These must be the exceedingly rare light and darkness spirit stones. If outsiders were to discover that Lin Xiao could perceive such a multitude of types of spiritual energy, they would surely be taken aback. Typically, it is only upon reaching the realm of instrument spirit that a martial artist becomes aware of their inherent attribute of spiritual energy. This implies that prior to attaining the instrument spirit realm, The spiritual energy absorbed is often chaotic and disordered. Consequently, the energy sea stores only the useful spiritual energy, while the unsuitable energy is expelled from the body through the circulatory system. Thus, cultivation before reaching the instrument spirit realm is generally sluggish. Of course, there are exceptional prodigies who possess a strong affinity for spiritual energy. For instance, those with special attributes such as ice, lightning, and wind can simultaneously perceive and absorb attributes of water, fire, earth, and wood, allowing their cultivation speed to far surpass that of ordinary attribute martial artists. Lin Xiao, who can sense all attributes, is indeed a rarity. The suspicions of the demon clan regarding Lin Xiao's potential connection to the light attribute are not entirely unfounded. In truth, the characteristics of both light and dark attributes are not comprehensively documented even in ancient texts, given that throughout history, few formidable beings of light and darkness have emerged, and those who did left scant records. However, Lin Xiao is oblivious to these considerations, focusing solely on his meditation and cultivation. Gradually, the spiritual energy within his energy sea becomes increasingly abundant, and he senses a slight expansion within it, realizing that he is on the brink of a breakthrough. Previously, he had read in family manuscripts that when the energy sea is brimming, one must compress the spiritual energy within, transforming it into the instrument spirit. However, this instrument spirit lacks sentience and requires further cultivation. Absorbing pure spiritual energy of the same attribute to nourish it until it awakens intelligence, thereby achieving a successful breakthrough and stepping into the instrument spirit realm as a martial artist. With this in mind, Lin Xiao does not hesitate. He begins to fervently absorb spiritual energy, simultaneously focusing his mind on compressing the energy within his sea. The abundant spiritual energy begins to grow tumultuous, forming a force of resistance. Clenching his lips, beads of sweat form densely on his forehead. Compressing the spiritual energy within the energy sea is no trivial task, and the resistance exceeds Lin Xiao's expectations. After a stalemate lasting half an hour, Lin Xiao gradually feels his stamina waning. Suddenly, a voice resonates within his mind. Sit calmly, maintain tranquility, let the energy flow and the spirit solidify. As the energy moves, it gathers. Gather the spirit and refine it all. Let the energy whirl forth, and your consciousness shall manifest. Like a sudden enlightenment, Lin Xiao comprehends the essence of the spiritual incantation. That if the spiritual energy cannot be compressed, then let it be. If it wishes to move, then let it move. Lin Xiao forms hand seals, releasing his restraint on the spiritual energy within the energy sea, allowing it to surge wildly. He then forcefully guides the spiritual energy to coalesce according to his will, forming a vortex within the energy sea. As his mind focuses, he accelerates the rotation of the vortex, drawing in the surrounding turbulent spiritual energy, while simultaneously hastening the absorption of external spiritual energy, causing the vortex to spin ever faster. At this juncture, Lin Xiao alters his hand seals, manifesting his consciousness to observe the state of his energy sea. Without lingering too long in observation, he harnesses the power of the rotation to begin compressing the vortex. This time, it proves significantly easier. The vortex gradually diminishes in size, revealing a peculiar liquid at its core. This liquid represents the purest form of spiritual energy, dripping rhythmically as if it were raining. Slowly, the vortex ceases its rotation and begins to dissipate, leaving behind only this extraordinary liquid within the energy sea. The liquid merges gradually, emitting a soft glow. As his consciousness examines these liquids, Lin Xiao is left in bewilderment. Where is the instrument spirit? Is it present here? Astonishing, isn't it? Surprising, wouldn't you agree? Who is it? Lin Xiao exclaimed in shock, wondering who was causing mischief within his chi si. Can you not see me, master? Once again, an ethereal voice reverberated within the chi si. Master, suddenly Lin Xiao recalled the cheeky egg. Hastily, he declared, release this liquid. We are still friends, otherwise, do not blame me for being impolite. Slurp. I was wrong, please spare me. Let's talk it over. Upon hearing the slurp of the liquid in the chi si diminished slightly, causing Lin Xiao to panic and quickly capitulate. Yet, he vaguely perceived the outline of an egg, which appeared to be even rounder than before. What is the master speaking of? The things you have refined are merely nourishing the artifact spirit, are they not? Slurp. You are my master, correct? Can you clarify your words before making demands? Lin Xiao felt tears welling up. The pure spiritual energy he had painstakingly refined was vanishing bit by bit, leaving him utterly powerless. Master, it seems you are jesting with me. I am your artifact spirit. Slurp. A slurp. Burp. This burp made Lin Xiao roll his eyes, yet upon reflection, the likelihood of this egg being his artifact spirit was quite high. However, he had once envisioned an artifact spirit that would resonate with his own temperament, such as a treasured sword, a magnificent blade, or a fan, which would enhance his elegance in battle, nay, augment his handsomeness. Was he destined to summon an egg to fight alongside him? Lin Xiao shook his head in despair. Master, I am not an egg. I am the ethereal spirit pearl, your artifact spirit. Remember, we met by chance before. Ethereal spirit pearl, the name sounds quite formidable. By the way, you mentioned being sealed. Has that been lifted now? Lin Xiao recalled their previous conversation in the cave, during which the ethereal spirit pearl had stated that its powers and memories were sealed. Wonderful, what do you remember? Lin Xiao's excitement surged, for he was aware that the spirit pearl once belonged to his father, and it surely possessed vast knowledge. Master, I have remembered my name. I am grateful to you. Is that all? Lin Xiao felt a surge of frustration as if blood was rushing to the surface, threatening to spill forth. Is that all there is? Within him, it felt as though a flock of crows had screeched past. Their gaze filled with pity for his folly. What use is my artifact spirit then? Must I shoulder the burden of battling alongside a fool? Lin Xiao despaired over the uncertain future, his heart heavy with sorrow. You have yet to reach the realm of artifact spirits. At that moment, the ethereal spirit pearl doused him with a bucket of cold water. Not at the realm of artifact spirits? What are you then? Are you not an artifact spirit? Lin Xiao could no longer contain himself and shouted hoarsely, must I master all 4 elemental attributes? Does that mean my training will be 4 times more arduous than that of an ordinary person? Lin Xiao spoke with a near-dazed expression, but the next words from the ethereal spirit pearl plunged him into despair. And master, it encompasses water, fire, earth, wood, ice, wind, thunder, as well as light and darkness, 9 attributes in total. Heavens, how exceedingly difficult. This is no different from being unable to break through. Lin Xiao's wails echoed throughout the Qi. Chapter 9. Discovering flaws. After wailing for an extended period, Lin Xiao ultimately came to terms with reality. Continuing to form seals and meditate for cultivation, his swift acceptance of the situation was primarily attributed to a conversation with the illusory spirit pearl. If the master embarked on the path of a martial artist, he would be invincible within the same realm. The concept of attribute restraint was of no consequence to the master. Are you saying I can forever restrain others? Lin Xiao inquired with excitement. Moreover, even if an opponent's realm surpasses yours slightly, you can still counterbalance them through attribute restraint, the illusory spirit pearl elaborated, shedding its previous playful demeanor. However, before it could finish its explanation, it noticed Lin Xiao had already entered a state of cultivation. Though there are matters I cannot disclose in advance, I assure you, I will safeguard you, my master, the illusory spirit pearl thought quietly to itself, unbeknownst to Lin Xiao, who remained focused on absorbing spiritual energy. Time flowed differently within the spiritual energy tower, devoid of sunrises and sunsets, rendering him oblivious to the passage of days. Fortunately, during his cultivation, the absorption of spiritual energy alleviated any pangs of hunger. Just as everyone was engrossed in their training, a sudden tremor shook the tower. Upon opening their eyes, they found themselves seated in the training field. At that moment, Lin Xiao suddenly realized something. Everyone was gathered in the training area, arranged in 6 rows of 5, totaling 30 individuals. He remembered that Elder Bai had mentioned during the war between humans and demons, the demon clan had abducted 30 children. You all have worked hard in your cultivation. Today, let us take a break and share our experiences. Currently, we strive to ascend to the spiritual realm as soon as possible, Lin Yuyan announced, appearing in the training field. Upon seeing Lin Yuyan, the youthful faces brightened, shaking off their previous fatigue. Lin Xiao observed the crowd and chuckled, shaking his head. His gaze then fell upon Lin Zun, who stood apart from the others, unlike the other boys. Lin Zun looked at Lin Yuyan with a predatory glint in his eyes, a lewd smile etched on his face, and he even unconsciously licked his lips with his tongue. Strangely, Lin Yuyan chose to ignore Lin Zun's demeanor, refraining from reprimanding him. It was well known that Lin Yuyan was a formidable spirit sect expert, possessing the pride typical of the strong, not easily trifled with. What are you thinking about, brother Lin? Let us go eat. Everyone has dispersed, Lu Xing'er remarked, approaching Lin Xiao and patting him on the shoulder, interrupting his thoughts. However, it mattered little. The clues he possessed were too scant to draw any conclusions. It seems brother Lu has gained immensely, Lin Xiao observed, noting a fluctuating aura of spiritual energy emanating from Lu Xing'er, indicative of a nearing saturation point in his energy reservoir. Sharp eyes, it appears brother Lin has reaped even greater rewards. Lu Xing'er thought, admiring Lin Xiao. Back when Lin Xiao had been unable to cultivate, he had already lit up 6 layers. Now he could no longer sense Lin Xiao's spiritual energy. Either he truly lacked it or had concealed his power, which was evidently the latter. What astonishing speed, Lu Xing'er mused. Having reached the 8th layer of cultivation himself, he was astonished that Lin Xiao had overtaken him. Could it be that in just a few short days, Lin Xiao had progressed from nothing to the 9th layer? What are you pondering, brother Lu? If we don't hurry to eat, there will only be soup left. Alright, let us go. Without further ado, they proceeded to the eastern courtyard, where their kin had already prepared a feast that appeared to be exceedingly sumptuous. The two casually chose adjacent seats and rather than hastening to partake in the meal, they attentively listened to the exchange of insights among the group of youths. Lin Zun, I have heard that you have reached the 10th level. You must be on the verge of a breakthrough. Do you have any insights or experiences to share? A boy, who constantly trailed behind Lin Zun, inquired obsequiously, seemingly seeking knowledge, yet in truth, he was merely flattering him. You are too kind. Assisting one another is part of my duty. To be candid, I have indeed attained the 10th level of cultivation, but it seems I am the only one who has reached this milestone. I hope everyone will strive diligently and join me at the 10th level soon. Lin Zun appeared quite pleased by the flattery. Becoming somewhat elated as he rambled on, offering no substantial advice, nevertheless many smiled and clasped their fists in gratitude towards him, for in this world where strength reigns supreme, power signifies status and dignity. However, Lin Xiao discerned a subtlety in Lin Xun's words. Based on the faint fluctuations of Lin Xun's spiritual energy, it was indeed possible to illuminate the 10th level and be transported there. Yet Lin Xiao had been present at the 10th level all along. Why had he not encountered Lin Xun? Could it be that the spiritual tower harbored some secrets? Currently only Lin Xiao and Lin Xun had reached the 10th level. Thus, the exchanges among the others were rather inconsequential. Feeling somewhat bored, Lin Xiao engaged in a brief conversation with Lu Xing'er before concocting an excuse to take his leave, intending to find a place to cultivate and pose some inquiries to the Yoshu spirit pearl. Upon exiting the eastern courtyard, Lin Xiao made his way directly to the main gate, greeting the guards and stating his intention to take a stroll. Naturally, no one dared to impede him. As he stepped outside, the voice of the Yoshu spirit pearl resonated in his mind. Master, do you have any queries you wish to discuss with me? How do you know what I am thinking? Lin Xiao was taken aback. As he had not yet entered a meditative state, nor had his consciousness delved into the Qi Si, how could the Yoshu spirit pearl be aware of his thoughts? Indeed, Master, I am your spiritual artifact. Whenever you wish to converse with me, simply think of it, and I shall hear you, much like communicating through spiritual awareness. Oh, that is quite convenient, but will it not be detected by others? Rest assured. Master, the communication between a person and their spiritual artifact goes unnoticed by outsiders. However, someone did probe into your Qi Si today. I am aware that you wish to conceal your all-attribute nature. So I have kept it hidden, releasing sufficient energy to illuminate the 10th level and assist you in avoiding detection. Are you truly that formidable? Then why do you not communicate with me in the clan? Is there something within the clan that you fear? Lin Xiao suddenly pondered this question, wondering if there were even more formidable beings within the clan, so powerful that even the spirit pearl dared not act recklessly. Yet, a single statement from the spirit pearl left Lin Xiao utterly stunned. I just remembered that we could converse in this manner. Throughout the journey, he engaged in a lengthy dialogue with the spirit pearl. And before he knew it, he had arrived in the bustling commercial district, where the streets were filled with a constant flow of vehicles and people. The voice of the spirit pearl once again echoed in his mind. Master, have you noticed, in this bustling district, everyone's level of spiritual energy and attributes are entirely identical? What a remarkable coincidence. Are you still able to perceive attributes and realms? Lin Xiao inquired with curiosity. A triumphant laughter echoed in his mind. Ha, of course, I am the illusory spirit pearl. Only those who have reached the spirit sea realm possess the ability to sense others' attributes and realms. This is also the ability you just recalled. Isn't it? Unable to endure the pearl's arrogance, Lin Xiao contemplated delivering a retort. Wow, Master, can you not expose me? It responded cheekily. Your memories are gradually unsealing, and I must say, you are becoming increasingly adorable. By the way, let us bestow a name upon you. Illusory spirit pearl is rather unwieldy. How about Yo, Shushu, Lingling? Master, please don't joke. Shushu means convenient, doesn't it? Then let us go with Little You. Thank you, Master. I recall that you used to call me Little You as well. Having lived in this familiar place for nearly 16 years, everything felt so known: the streets, the buildings, the flowers and grass, the ebb and flow of familiar faces, the calls of vendors, whispers, the laughter of children at play, and the animated discussions of adults. Yet Lin Xiao felt that something was amiss. What could it be? Sitting beneath a grand tree, he gazed at the bustling crowd, lost in thought. As the sun gradually descended, the throng began to disperse, and at that moment, a faint smile unexpectedly graced Lin Xiao's lips. Chapter 10. The silent home. The twilight glow bathed the bustling little town, and by now, Lin Xiao's figure had vanished from beneath the tree. Slowly, the night enveloped the town, restoring its tranquility. Meanwhile, the Lin household was abuzz with excitement. The youths were immensely pleased with their achievements in the Spirit Power Tower, convinced that stepping into the artifact spirit realm was just around the corner. At that moment, the left protector was deep in contemplation in Lin Xiao's courtyard, fixated on the Spirit Power Tower in his hands. Scattered around were numerous dim spirit stones, their faint illumination revealing their attributes. It appeared that Lin Xiao had not yet reached the artifact spirit realm. Only upon attaining that level could one absorb spirit power that matched their own attributes, given that Lin Xiao had absorbed all attributes into spirit power. It was evident that he had not yet reached that realm, yet the quantity absorbed was indeed staggering. The left protector, pained at the sight of these spirit stones, murmured to himself before gritting his teeth. One must be willing to make sacrifices to reap rewards. With newfound determination, he arranged the spirit stones along the walls at the pinnacle of the Spirit Power Tower. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that the top of the tower bore a distinct difference from the previous 10 levels. Martial skills were exceedingly rare. Even the most basic techniques could not be crafted by just any martial artist, thus even the lowest tier combat skills were typically possessed only by prominent families, ordinary households. Unless they could cultivate, a martial artist had no opportunity to learn martial skills, as those with slightly higher spirit power merely had a bit more strength than the average person. In the library, A plethora of texts lay before the clan members and elders who were engrossed in their reading. The first floor housed insights penned by esteemed ancestors regarding the absorption of spirit power, as well as foundational martial skills that could be practiced before reaching the artifact spirit realm, allowing one to fully harness their spirit power in combat. The second level is accessible only to warriors, and one can only be deemed a warrior upon entering the realm of instrument spirits. Thus, even though Lin Xiao currently holds the title of Young Master, he cannot contravene this rule. As he wandered around the first level, it was Lin Xiao's first visit, and many of the books sparked a sense of novelty within him. The insights shared by his predecessors also alleviated some of his inner uncertainties. Master, the book beside you emanates a trace of spiritual energy. Have you noticed? The voice of Xiaoyu suddenly resonated within his consciousness. Spiritual energy? Do the other books not possess it? Lin Xiao was aware that Xiaoyu had likely discovered something peculiar. There is none other, only this book contains spiritual energy, and I sense that it only manifests when we approach it, Xiaoyu remarked with keen interest, prompting Lin Xiao to distance himself from the book. Indeed, the spiritual energy dissipated as he moved away, only to reappear when he drew near again. Lin Xiao, maintaining his composure, picked up the book and scrutinized it closely, yet he found no discernible differences. The cover bore no title, and upon opening it, he discovered it was entirely blank. From the first page to the last, was it a book of no words? Nevertheless, Lin Xiao was certain that this book harbored secrets. He inhaled deeply, contemplating how to discreetly take the book outside. Concealing it on his person was feasible, but it was a last resort. Should he be discovered, explanations would be inevitable, and if the demon clan learned of the book's hidden nature first, it could pose future dangers. After much deliberation, Lin Xiao suddenly noticed that many individuals were carrying paper and ink, coming to transcribe the texts. It seemed they lacked the status to remove books from the premises. An idea struck Lin Xiao. He clasped the nameless, wordless book and made his way toward the exit. Upon encountering the elder on duty, Lin Xiao cupped his fists and said, "Elder, I have been here for quite some time yet have found no suitable martial techniques for my cultivation. I am uncertain what to transcribe that may aid me. Might you have any recommendations?" Faced with Lin Xiao's respectful demeanor, the elder felt a surge of goodwill and replied with a smile. "Young master, you are too kind. Given your exceptional talent and esteemed position, there is no need for you to transcribe. Borrowing is sufficient. Here is a martial technique, not housed within the scripture pavilion but rather one I acquired through fortuitous circumstances. It is a yellow-level intermediate palm technique, named Spinning Palm, suitable for warriors of all attributes, producing different effects based on one's attribute. This is far too precious. I cannot accept such a gift." Lin Xiao hurriedly declined, his refusal sincere. While yellow-level intermediate techniques may not appear particularly valuable, most martial techniques are bound by attribute requirements, necessitating that practitioners possess the same attribute to cultivate them. In contrast, the spinning palm is indeed a rare gem among yellow-level techniques, transcending the value of many lower-tier techniques. A family capable of possessing a single martial technique could ensure its legacy. While the so-called techniques are merely the stuff of legend, reserved for the mightiest of beings, you exaggerate. Young master, the Lin family has shown me great kindness. Consider this my genuine expression of gratitude. Please accept it. As Lin Xiao was about to decline, Xiaoyu could no longer contain her impatience. "Master, please do not refuse. This martial skill may merely be of yellow gray to others, yet for you, it is an exceptional technique, enabling you to wield different attributes of spiritual power. In truth, Lin Xiao had also contemplated this point. Such an attribute-free cultivation technique was indeed the most suitable for him, and the temptation it presented was exceedingly difficult to resist. Initially, Lin Xiao harbored concerns about whether this might be a scheme, but upon reflection, he reasoned that even if it were a conspiracy, as long as it benefited him, it would suffice. "Thank you, elder. The younger generation shall obey your command." Lin Xiao accepted the martial skill, clasped his fists in respect towards the elder, and took the wordless tome as he exited the scripture pavilion. The elder, after watching Lin Xiao depart, lowered his gaze back to his book as if nothing had transpired. Since it was under the watchful eyes of others, Lin Xiao decided to play along, feigning ignorance and adopting a strategy of remaining unchanged amidst the changes. When he next entered the Tower of Spiritual Power for cultivation, he could later investigate the secrets of the wordless tome at his leisure. As for the rotating palm technique, Lin Xiao did not rush to practice it. He had an instinctive feeling that the elder from the scripture pavilion might not be of the demon clan. If the demon clan truly wished for him to cultivate this palm technique for some purpose, they could easily have the clan leader impart it to him or utilize other straightforward methods. It was indeed difficult to fathom that today's serendipitous encounter had been orchestrated in advance by the demon clan. It seemed prudent to cultivate a closer relationship with this elder to discern his true identity. At this moment, there was no need for haste. With this thought, Lin Xiao calmed his mind and entered a state of cultivation.